A few weeks ago, I posted a video about how I minted and listed for sale my very own NFTs using the platform OpenSea. In the comments of that video, a lot of you guys asked about how I actually made the file that I sold as an NFT. So today, I'm going to walk you through step by step how I made the animated GIF that I ended up selling on OpenSea as an NFT so that you can follow along and learn how to make yours as well. What's up, guys? It's Tom. Welcome back to the lab and welcome back to my life. Today's video is going to be a part 2 about how to make your very own NFTs as a musician. The first video I made on this, I just sold some animated trading cards, GIFs through the platform OpenSea. And if you haven't watched that video, I definitely recommend you go and check that out either right now or after you're done with this video. You can watch that right here. What I did is I made a bunch of limited edition trading cards using a couple different pieces of software that I have on my own computer. I'm not an animator. I'm definitely not a professional graphic designer. I feel like I have a reasonable eye for what I think looks cool and kind of basically have patchworked together a way of creating a graphic document and then animating it. So there's going to be kind of two main elements of this. Element number one is the graphic design side of it. I use Affinity Photo for all my graphic design because it's a one-time fee instead of a monthly subscription like Photoshop. But for all intents and purposes, everything that I walk through here is applicable in Photoshop as well. The workflow just might be a little bit different. The second part is the actual animation part. Now, I am by no means an animator at all. I don't even have any like animation software. I don't have any digital design software, anything like that. I did all of my animation using stock plugins in Final Cut Pro. If you have Final Cut Pro, you can follow along with all this stuff. If you have a different video editor, hopefully like a pro level video editor, then all this stuff will probably apply there as well. You may not be able to do some of this stuff in like iMovie or other like light versions of video editing software, but kind of the principles will apply across the board. And just like look at what plugins you have, what's available to you in the software that you have, and figure out what you can do with it. Because that's kind of what I did. I just looked at what I had already and then figured out how to use it and make something that I thought was cool. Hopefully you can follow along with this and then do the same thing with whatever it is that you have as well. Let's get started with the graphic design element in Affinity Photo and we'll dive right in. Okay, so the first thing I had to make was the trading card itself, right? And this is the most recent trading card of all the trading cards I made. I've made 7 and I made 100 copies of each. So this is the most recent one I made. They're all based off of songs that I've dropped. And this one is called Holding On. It's based off my song Holding On, which if you haven't listened to, link in the description of this video if you want to go check that out. This is the trading card for Holding On, and it consists basically of 2 elements. I've got the background, which I can get rid of there. It's just the background. I just cropped the album cover of my song, which I'll do a whole nother video on that if you want me to, about how I make my cover art for my songs. But basically, I took my cover art, I got rid of the text, and then I cropped it into, how big is this document? Into a 4x6. So my document size is 4,000 pixels by 6,000 pixels of the DPI of 300. So it's a very high quality document to start because I can always sample it down, but you can't really sample it up without it getting grainy and gross and nasty. So I like to start big and then I can do what I want from there. So it's a 4x6 to make the card, and that's the background. And then over the background is this frame here. And this frame has like a bunch of different elements. So obviously I've got the text overlaid right here. And we'll knock that out for a second so you can see what the frame is actually made of. Taking it all the way down, we'll start with this border. I've got this black border. It might show up better over the picture there. Yeah. So I've got a black border and I just made 4 rectangles to make this border. And then I made sure they were all the same like size, height, and width. And then I just made my own frame. After that, I added in this title thing at the top and the bottom. And these are 2 trapezoid shapes that are here in Affinity. And I think this should be in Photoshop as well. You can make all your shapes by going to the left side here and go to like the shapes tool. And I just like did rectangles for, the borders. I did that, and then did the trapezoid shape wherever it is right here for this. And you can see it like overlays, like hangs off a little bit. So I pulled it to each side to kind of make it interesting looking. And I also added these rulers here so I'd make sure that everything like lined up like evenly either side and, you know, snaps correctly. So it's like a balanced thing. And you can do that by just like going to the ruler here and pulling a new ruler from the side and from the top there, and create your own rulers. And I show and hide those by command semicolon. That's the second element, the trapezoid. And then after that, I've got this little number panel, which is just a circle shape. I added all of those, I overlaid them, and I made this frame. Then from there, I added a drop shadow on the whole thing. And these are the percentages. It kind of seasoned to taste on that. But the drop shadow gave it a little bit of depth and makes it kind of lift off of the background a little bit, which I like. And I think that makes it look a little bit cooler. And then from there, I added this mask, which I'll pull out of here and show you like exactly what it is. So you can see the mask right there is basically just like spray paint. I spray painted over the whole document like that. And then I grab the mask, I pull it down to the frame and hover over the frame thumbnail, and it will nest into the frame like that. And then that's how you get it to just apply to the frame and not anything else. So as you can see, it like just applies to the frame, and then it doesn't apply to the background. So now that we've done that, we've got this whole thing here. We've got the frame, we've got the background. Then I just added the text. And then I used the exact same mask. I just copied it and applied it to the text. And so, you know, you've got the number of the card. This is issue number 7 of what will ultimately be 10. Then I've got the title up here, and then I've got the song title at the bottom. And so I just added the exact same mask layer overlay of that. If you want to create a mask, you go down here. I think this is the mask tool. And that's how you make a new mask. So you can see it popped up right there. And then like select your brush tool and you can just like spray paint over it and stuff. I'd have to have the mask layer selected, I guess, there, but do like that. And then, you know, make a mask. I think it should be said probably in this moment that I am most assuredly not a professional graphic designer. All of this stuff I have figured out how to do in here basically with Google and YouTube. So just like you're watching this video to learn something on YouTube, I do the same thing. I go to YouTube and Google all the time to figure out how to do this stuff because I don't know anything about graphic design. I don't even know the proper like terminology or anything. I just know how to figure out how to do some of this stuff based on other smart people who know a lot more about it than me. So one of the main channels I watch for this for Affinity is Affinity's actual YouTube channel. I've learned a ton of stuff from their YouTube channel. So if you want to learn more about this specific piece of software, I definitely recommend all their tutorials because they're very, very helpful. They've helped me a lot for sure. Anyway, after we have made all these elements here, then we print them down in 2 different pieces and create the NFT template. And so here on the NFT template, there are these 2 different pieces. I've got the overlay, which I'll get rid of, and I've got the background, which I'll get rid of. So the frame has now been exported as a PNG file, and I've imported it into here to now format it in the proper size. So this document is 450 by 800. So you can see I've sampled it down a lot to make it the size I want it to be. And it's also got a lower DPI as well. So this is getting it kind of web ready, basically. I've sized it how I want it. I've got the frame and then I've got the background. And then from there, what I do is I export them again from here as PNG files in this exact format. One of them is the frame and the other one is the background. And once I've done that, the graphic design element is over. So now that the graphic design part is done, we can move on to the second half, which is the actual animation of these graphics using Final Cut Pro. So here in Final Cut, I've got a few different things that I did to make this kind of all happen. So first of all, I have several compound clips because I made several trading cards in bulk. So I've got the background, which is a series of all the different backgrounds here. Like, you know, there's lions, there's darkness, and again, we're just gonna stick with holding on. Then I've got a frame element, which is a compound clip as well. So then, you know, you've got lions, again, darkness, and then back to holding on. After that, I layered them on top of one another to make this full compound clip. And this full compound clip is when the first part of actual visual movement starts. So here on the background layer, I have added this add noise effect. So if I do Command 5 and I go to the effects thing here, I type in noise, this is what I did. I dragged this add noise thing over to here, and I used that effect to make the background kind of have just a little bit of movement to it. So if we amp this up a lot, you can see I've got it at 0.03. It's very low. If I crank it up a little bit, this is basically what I've got going on over top of it. And I wanted to add this so it has kind of like this 80s retro TV vibe to it, because there's like an 80s-esque synthwave element to pretty much everything I do. I just kind of wanted to play that up because I like it. It's my thing. That was the first layer. Then I created a new project, and this project is a vertical video, which is framed 450 by 800, which is the exact same parameters of the actual ping file. So it just drops right in. There's no moving, there's no cropping, there's nothing like that. It just falls right in. And then this is where I've added the bulk of the animation. So here I have duplicated this full group here, and I've made it go twice. Watching the animation as I'm explaining, you can see that it goes forward here, backs up, and then it goes the other direction to the middle and backs up. So here's how I got it to do that. If I do Control V to expand all of these animation elements here, you can see there's three main things that are happening. The first one is this flashing light thing that basically I added so that when it hits a certain angle, it flashes to sort of simulate like a sheen of light on a trading card. If you were to hold a trading card or the screen of your phone, you can see the light reflecting off of it in the real world. So I wanted to try to simulate that with the tools I have as best as I can, not being a graphic designer at all. So I use this flashing light thing, and I keyframed it so it starts at 0 at the beginning here. And then when you get halfway through each clip, the flashing light intensity goes up to just 0.5. Like that's it. It hardly goes up at all. And then I overlaid that with this glow thing as well. And these are both just stock filters here in Final Cut. And the glow thing does the exact same thing, basically. They're layered together to create one element of the card actually shining in the light when it turns a certain way. So you can see it kind of popping and shining a little bit there as it turns to kind of simulate like it's catching the light if you're like holding it in your hand. That's what I wanted to accomplish with it. And then the big animation, the big movement thing is this perspective tile shift. So this is the overlay of what the perspective tile is moving toward from where it is. Again, I keyframed it here. If you go to the middle here, I did it by amount. So the highest it goes is to 12. If we crank this up a lot, you can see it does this weird thing where it's like actually a tiled version of the cover art, and it makes it look like it's a whole bunch of them. Like that's what the effect is supposed to do. I just limited it to be a very small amount so that it would never show that there was a bunch of them on the screen. And it just moves ever so slightly, again, to simulate like you're holding the card in your hand and you're just kind of like looking at it. Like if you were buying it in a store, you picked it up and you're kind of checking it out, the light's going to reflect off of it. It's going to angle. It's going to have a different geometry based on like your field of view. And that's what I wanted to make it do. So it looked like you were kind of checking it out in a store. So the first way it goes kind of top left sinking in and bottom right poking out. And it does that halfway, and then it comes back to center. It comes back to 0. And the tricky part here was the second part of the perspective tile. I had to get it to go the exact opposite direction. If you want to screenshot this, instead of trying to figure it out like I did, I had to figure out like if you go to the top right here and you look at like top left, bottom left, I had to figure out which parameters were supposed to be reversed and which ones were supposed to stay the same. So the horizontal parameters have to like mirror one another, and the vertical parameters have to mirror one another, but in a specific way. It's super weird. And it took me a while to figure this out because I would end up with a stretched looking card. Like, well, all right, well, that's not it. So if you want to screenshot this, this is the first half up here, and then this is the second half. And you can screenshot that and see which ones are opposite or opposed to one another, because it took some doing. And I'd rather just save you time. If you have this program and you're going to use this exact thing, just use these settings, and then you can figure out how to do it without having to take all the time that I did. And that's it. That's how I made the card. I'll close these animation things and we'll play it back from the beginning one more time. It shimmers, it shines, it's got a little bit of that 80s grain thing to it, and it simulates like you are in the store holding this trading card and checking it out. And that's what I did for every single one of them. I basically made a system where I created the exact same border for everything, and then I just changed out the number of the card and the title of the song. I kept the title of the series, Dark Light, the same, and then I traded out the background. And at every step, I made like little folders so that I can just easily switch it out. So when I make the next card, I don't have to change any of the animated features. The only thing I have to do is go back to the 2 initial compound clips of the frame and of the background and just drop in the new background and new frame of the next card, and all the animation will be applied to that next card, and it'll be exactly the same as everything else. So the next 3 cards, the final 3 cards, will be very, very easy for me to make. So this is it. This is how I did it. This is how I made all of my NFTs that I've made so far. I plan to make more. I plan to make some where I actually sell some music. Probably going to make some one-shot NFTs instead of like trading card series and things like that. But for all of you who are curious to know, this is how I did it. Hopefully these rules and like methods and stuff will apply to some other software if you don't have these exact pieces of software. I know Final Cut's expensive. I think it's like $300 on a Mac. I think Affinity, last I checked, was like $50, so that one's definitely more accessible. I like that program. I know there's, most people out there are diehard Photoshop fans, and I get it. Photoshop's great, but it's a monthly subscription. Affinity's a one-time payment. I like that. And for my needs, it's a great piece of software. I hope this helps you make your NFTs. If you have any questions about this, hit me in the comments. I would be glad to answer them as best as I can, as always. And if you want to hop into our live stream this Friday at 1 p.m. Central Time in the US, we can talk more about NFTs, how I made this, any questions you might have, and any ideas you might have for NFTs you would like to see me make in the future. Before I let you go, if you don't subscribe to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos in the future. And at the end here, as always, we got a couple things you can check out. And I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.